Today I want to share with you how to make a healthy make-ahead gravy mix, and this is a shelf-stable pantry staple. Hi sweet friends, I'm Mary and welcome to Mary's Nest, where I teach traditional cooking skills for making nutrient-dense foods like bone broth, ferment, sourdough, and more. So if you enjoy learning about those things, consider subscribing to my channel and don't forget to click on the little notification bell below. That'll let you know every time I upload a new video. Well, this gravy mix couldn't be easier to make, and the nice thing is you've always got it on hand in your pantry for whenever you want to make gravy for dinner, or in the case of Thanksgiving when you need to make extra gravy. Now we'll go over the ingredients that you're going to need to make this gravy mix, and then I'll also share with you how to actually turn it into gravy. But you don't need to write anything down, because if you open the description under this video, just look for the word recipe. There'll be a link there. You can click on that. That'll take you over to my website, Mary's Nest, the same name as my YouTube channel, where you can read the recipe online or print it out. Well, the first thing that you're going to need is 1 cup of flour. Now, I'm just using a plain all-purpose flour here, and that'll work perfectly. But if you're lucky enough to find something called Wondra flour at your grocery store, that works very well also. It's a very fine ground powder, so it mixes very well once you add liquid to it. Next, let's talk about the bouillon powder. You're going to need 1/4 cup. Now what I like to use is my homemade bouillon powder, and it's very easy to make. Basically you can make chicken stock, chicken bone broth, chicken broth, whatever you have, and then you dry it. And you don't need any special equipment. You can dry it in a dehydrator, of course, but you can also dry it in your oven. And you dry it until it's really, really dry, and it'll look like stained glass, and you'll be able to break it into little shards, and then you pulverize it in a blender or a little, I usually use my little coffee bean grinder, whatever you have, and you turn it into a powder, and then you have something that looks like this. And what's nice about making your own bouillon powder is that you know what goes into it. Because many people on this journey from a processed foods kitchen to a traditional foods kitchen are on this journey because they want to have more natural foods, more homemade foods in their kitchen, because maybe the processed foods at the grocery store, or the prepared foods, as my mother used to call them, are not agreeing with them. Maybe they're getting headaches, or maybe they're having, some allergic reactions, whatever the case may be. But when you learn to make your own bouillon powder, and I show you how to make chicken bouillon powder, beef bouillon powder, and a vegetable bouillon powder, which we'll talk about in a second. But once you learn how to make these homemade, then, as I said, you know exactly what's gone into it. Now don't worry, if you don't have homemade bouillon powder, you can certainly use bouillon powder from the grocery store. But what I recommend is that you look for a bouillon powder that has very few ingredients. And basically you want to avoid things like monosodium glutamate and things that are labeled natural flavors. These are often the things that wind up not agreeing with people and why they're searching out trying to make things homemade. So the more natural a bouillon powder you can find, and you do want it to be a bouillon powder, the better off you're going to be in the long run. Now the last ingredient that you're going to need if you're using your homemade bouillon powder is going to be 1 teaspoon of salt. Now if you're using the store-bought bouillon powder, chances are that already contains salt, so then you'll want to omit the salt. And the reason that I add salt when I use my homemade bouillon powder is because when I make a chicken bone broth or a beef bone broth or a turkey bone broth, I don't add in any salt during the bone broth making process. Now, yes, when I'm using the leftover scraps and carcass from a roast chicken or from a roast turkey, yes, there is a little bit of salt in there, but I've never found it to be quite enough when I go and use the bouillon powder in a mix like this gravy mix or in some of the other make-ahead mixes that I have. So now we'll go ahead and add in our bouillon powder along with our flour, and then we'll go ahead and add in our salt. And what we want to do is give this a real good mix. Spend about, maybe 30 seconds doing this. You really want to make sure that all of the bouillon powder and the salt are really well distributed through the flour. And this is a wonderful pantry, shelf-stable pantry mix, the gravy mix to have in your pantry. It's going to have a shelf life for about 6 months. And if you'd like more ideas on how to stock your pantry with make-ahead mixes and all sorts of things, I have a 36-page pantry list that really helps folks who are making that transition from a processed foods kitchen to a traditional foods kitchen. And I think, did I say it's 36 pages long? It's got everything that you need. And it's free and you can just download it. And I'll put a link in the description below so you can click on that and download it. Now, before we proceed with decanting this and talking about how to turn this into a gravy, I want to take a minute to talk about making this with a vegetable bouillon. First of all, making vegetable bouillon is very easy. And again, I'll have all the links to this in the description below and in the iCard. Once you have vegetable bouillon, if you want, you can use this as your flavoring base for your gravy instead of the chicken bouillon or a beef bouillon. And what's neat about this, you now have a vegetable gravy. And this is something that you can serve to people who are vegetarians. And this is very tasty. And what's so nice, if you are serving someone in your family or your friends who's a vegetarian or yourself possibly, and you want to enjoy some mashed potatoes with a nice, put the indentation and fill it with a nice gravy, you've got a wonderful vegetable gravy here. And this is a very unusual thing. It's not a common thing that you often see. I don't even think I've seen vegetable gravy mixes at the grocery store, but you can make this so easy. It's very easy to make the vegetable bouillon. It's very easy to make this gravy mix. And now you've got such a versatile gravy, a vegetable gravy. Now, I'm not sure about what the dietary rules are for vegans, but potentially all of this may be vegan friendly as well. So now everybody at your table can enjoy gravy, and I think most people like gravy. Now I usually just go ahead and store this in about a 12-ounce jelly jar. It works great since it's little more than 8 ounces. You can certainly probably squeeze it in with a little compressing or compacting into an 8-ounce jelly jar, but I usually just put it in a 12-ounce jelly jar. And I put the lid on and I feel that it's fine. If you live in a very humid climate and you really want to work on keeping moisture out of this, because moisture is the enemy, you can always pop in a little silica gel pack. And if you want to learn more about silica gel packs and various storage options and so on and so forth, I'll be sure to link to that in the description below and in the iCards, where I go over all of these various ways to store pantry staples. Alrighty, well, I'm just gonna get this into my jar. I'm just using a funnel, helps make things a little neater. Now, how to turn this into gravy. What you'll wanna do is take 2 tablespoons of your gravy mix here, and you're going to want to also take 2 tablespoons of butter. And you're going to want to put this in a little saucepan. And just as we're doing this, I just want to show you, if you shake this a little bit, give it a little tap, sorry, that'll help compact it and you can get everything into the jar. So you'll just take 2 tablespoons of this, 2 tablespoons of butter, and all of this information will be over, in the written recipe. But the 2 tablespoons of the mix, 2 tablespoons of butter, put that into a little saucepan, cook that, let the butter melt, and cook it for about 2 minutes. It'll brown up a little, and then you're going to add in 1 cup of water, bring it to a boil, just like making a regular gravy, and let it boil as you're stirring it for about 2 minutes, and you've got gravy. So it works out perfectly. Alrighty, well, this is all set. Look at that, this beautiful gravy mix. And you've got plenty in there, and this should last you about 6 months. Well, if you would like to learn how to make more make-ahead mixes, I've got baking mixes, I've got cream of soup mix, I've got a coffee creamer and a hot cocoa mix, and a cookie mix and muffin mix and cake mixes, all sorts of things. Be sure to click on this video over here, and I'll see you over there in my Texas Hill Country Kitchen. Love and God bless.